And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Circadians' First Light. Now this is from Garfield Games, best known for their trilogies, the Architects and Paladins of the West Kingdom, another game of that's coming eventually, and the North Sea trilogy, Raiders, Explorers, and Shipwrights of the North Sea. This one here is an alien game in which you are going to a planet and you are colonizing that planet or mining that planet. There's not so many wars breaking out as there is in like the movie Avatar, but it's kind of the same thing. You're going around maybe trading with the people making first contact, just trying to get resources, trying to get victory points and discover stuff on this strange alien planet. This is a dice placement game where each turn you'll roll dice and place them on various spots on your own player board, which will then move to other working style boards. It sounds complicated. In fact, the game looks complicated. It is not necessarily so. Here you go. There's a lot going on in this game, and I'm not going to go over every detail, but the main thing to know is that it is a dice placement game. Each round of the game, and there are multiple rounds in this game, you're going to be rolling dice behind a shield and placing those dice on your board. Dice can be placed in farms. After you roll the dice, you can place dice in farms, and that's going to give you resources. So here, for example, it will give you water or algae, or here water or energy, and the amount you get is based on the number of dice. So if I place this here with a 5, I can take 7 water, or I'll get 3 of the algae. Now, if I put a die here, it doesn't matter what the value is, I can add 3 to these dice here. So if I have low dice, by putting this here, I've changed this to a 4. And if I put the third die here, that would also be a 4. And I could take various amounts of these materials. If you place dice up here, you're going to be able to send these dice onto the other boards in a worker placement type action where your players will take turns putting them out. It's going to be done in turn order, and you'll be able to place one at a time. But to place the second or third die, you're also going to have to pay algae to put those out on the other boards. There are all sorts of things that players can do when they're placing these. When you put a dice here, you can pay 2 energy or 10 water to take a new ship here to put in your hangar. What this will do is when you are placing dice, it will modify the die that you place. So if I put this here, whenever I take an action with the die that's above it, so if I have a die here and put it out, I will pay 5 less water. Placing dice in a laboratory, which is awesome but requires 2 dice of the same. I would have to, like, for example, put 2 5s here, pay 3 algae or 10 water, and I get to put out another farm. Now this, for example, if I take this farm, it will give me 3 water every round for free. I don't have to put a die there, or 2 algae. Or I can put this one here, and it requires a 6-sided die, a 6 on a die, but it will give me extra dice. It's another place to put things. I can also go to the mining camp here, where I can pay water, subtracting the number rolled in the die, a certain amount, subtracting what's on the die to get that many of the gems. I can go to the market where I can trade resources for other resources, and the number of times you can trade them is the number on the die. I can go to the academy where I can pay different resources to get more dice. Now you have a maximum of 5 dice that you're able to have and roll each turn, but this is a place to get more dice. You can get 1 extra die or pay enough to get 2 extra dice. And I can go to the control room, and based on the die that you put there, you're going to move your collector on the planet itself, going around and collecting resources, and it shows you what direction to move it. Now at the beginning of the game, you're going to seed a lot of spots on the board here. It will show you that with water or with gems. And so by moving your collector around, and if you land on one of these, you're going to get to keep the gems or waters. But also, after all the dice are placed each round, there's a farming phase in which you'll get stuff from the dice you place in your farms and or other farms you've built, but you'll also get wherever your collector is. At the beginning, it's just an energy, an algae, and a water. But here, it's giving me 8 algae. And so depending on the direction that I move this in, I can get a lot of resources of a certain type. If I move it this direction, it's energy, algae, it's water over here, it's, it's a kind of a mixture. If I land on here, I can even get a gem and dice. And if I land on here at the end of the game, I will also get victory points that are going to be various depending on where you are. So you want to try to move to the edge if possible. If you have nowhere to put your dice, you can or you can't afford to pay the algae to put them out, you can always stick them in the cantina where they'll just give you 2 water. And then finally, there's these two boards, which are interesting because on these boards, when you play a die there, it will stay there forever. With the exception of down here in the headquarters, you can put dice down here, and you'll be able to put those on the board first before even the first player places their dice on the following turn. And also, you'll get some water or get some more item cards when placing there. The depository is a place you can place dice where they'll stay for the rest of the game, so you'll have to get more dice to put those out. And when you do this, you'll be able to play item cards. Players will start the game with some item cards, but there's other ways to draw more over the course. These item cards cost a lot of resources to play them. So if I want to play algae cells, for example, I need to pay 3 water and algae and the 1 energy. It's worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. And now whenever I take the laboratory action, I can pay 2 less algae. The hydraulic core here, costs 5 water and 2 algae. And now when I take this action, I pay 5 less water. And there's a whole lot of these. Sometimes they give you special ability. Sometimes they give you end of the game victory points. So you can play one of these from your hand when you place a die here, and you also will get a bonus. You can move on the planet, get an extra die, or draw 2 extra item cards, depending on what the number is that you place here. Then you can also place dice up here. Here, when you place a die, you're going to score victory points at the end of the game based on the die that's placed there, but you have to pay that much algae. Now, when you put the die there, you'll pay that much algae or energy or the minerals, and you'll get that many victory points at the end of the game. Also, the first person to place a die of each number somewhere up here can take this, move it over here, and get some sort of reward, like take an extra die or take a gem or take some item cards. However, these are contacts that you have with these different native aliens here. Once someone places a die that makes it go over a certain amount, over 8, over 10, over 12, 15, 2 dice of the same. So here it's 6, 7, 8. It's equal to or gone over 8. You also take one of these and put it here and lose something. So being the first contact's good. Continually contacting these guys could be a pain, but you still will do it to score victory points. Also, when you go there, you're going to get a special ability here, like make up to 3 market trades without auctioning a die. And these will change from game to game because you can flip these over to have different people that you run into. That's pretty much it. There's a few other things. There's going to be an event that happens each round. Sometimes they're good. Green ones, sometimes they're bad. That's how you keep track of how many rounds are in the game. At the end of the game, you're going to get points. If your harvester is on top of one of these spots, you'll get points for your dice that are placed on this board and for dice that are placed on, your items. And also the gems that you have at the end of the game are going to be worth points. I should also mention that players are also going to have a special ability, which is extremely powerful. Like, for example, she can move her harvester's space to an adjacent space every turn. She gets a free movement. If she has less than 5 dice, she can gain 1 for free. This guy's negotiation setbacks are positive effects when he goes on this board here. Here, gain an extra reward of a different type when actioning dice at the depository. So they all have really cool special abilities that you can use. And that's how you play. I should mention there's some extra cards for use with the solo variant that you can play with. The components for this game, there's a ton of them. This is one of the things I know that Garfield Games has a very strong opinion on keeping the size of their boxes the same. I think this game is punished a little bit by trying to be so small to fit into it. This game could have done with a really nice big board that included this, this, and this. And I know you can flip these boards over based on number of players, especially these little ones here. But I still think a nice, bigger board would have helped some. The resources are really cool. I like them. The game comes with cards for 5 and 10 resources if you run out of resources. I actually went out and got some of these big water droplets and count them as 10 water because you will be spending and using a lot of water over the course of the game. The components are good. The dice are good quality. The components are good quality. I like that these harvesters, they're not an actual harvester, but moving it around lets you see exactly what's underneath it. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of is the art itself. I don't know what it is. Especially the aliens, everyone just looks a little stilted looking at the well, they're all looking at the camera, I guess, in a sense. I don't mind the pictures of the landscape. So like when you zoom up here on the market, I don't mind that background stuff. It's just that everyone in it kind of looks like, I don't know, like they were cut out and I don't. Maybe it's just not for me. But that's really the only negative thing I have to say about the art. I think the rest of it is quite well done, and the symbology is pretty clear. There you have it. That is Circadians First Light. It is an extremely entertaining game. I really enjoy this. I like dice placement games in general. I like how this one lets you use your dice to get resources or to then take turns and place them on the board. There's a limited amount of spots. Though I was showing you the 4-player sides of everything. With a 3-player or 2 players, there's going to be fewer spots. They do a really good job of that. And while this game, with dice placement, it's like, what is new about this one? This one lets you kind of plan ahead of time which ones you're going to put out there. Sometimes you put a die right where somebody else is going to go. And you got to try to figure out a backup. You definitely want to move your harvester on the planet. You definitely want to get a lot of resources, so you want to build the farms. Getting more dice is something I often do in games like this. Hey, I need more workers. But you have a max of 5 you can have at any point. And you really only need the extra ones if you're going to start putting them on those scoring boards. But to put them on scoring boards, you need items and resources to pay for those. It's really straightforward. What kind of makes this game stand out is the nice, strong special abilities. This reminds me a little bit of another game I enjoy, Marco Polo, that has really strong special abilities. That's what this game has. And you can, you'll look at everyone else's and feel that they're overpowered and better than your own. They're not. Everyone has good ones. You're just, it's just how it works. So high quality components, like I said, my biggest complaint here is the box is small. Other than that, it is a fun, entertaining game. And I'm telling you, at this point in time, Garfield Games is a company to watch. When they come out with a game, it's like, what do they have? This one kind of flew under the radar compared to their bigger release, Paladins of the West Kingdom, which is an amazing game. But I really did like this one. I thought it felt fresh and different. The game length wasn't overly long. The idea of putting dice out to score points and never getting them back is kind of an iffy one in many games. But here you can get enough extra dice. I mean, each player has like 15, I don't know. There's a lot of dice. You just get some more. And it feels like you can try different strategies than other people. Try to build hangers to make your dice. You don't cost algae to put this dice out. Or to just get tons of resources and spend those to get points. It's good, fun. I highly recommend it. Circadians First Light. Dice Tower Judgment approved!